got to know Madge over the last, I suppose, year or two, and extremely excited to have her involved here today. The conference theme being well-being, I suppose, and the influence of personal style and brand. I thought of Madge straight away, actually, when we, I suppose, launched our conference theme. I just mentioned to Madge, actually, my first experience with, I suppose, the power of style and the influence of how you feel, which links back to, obviously, Adam Voigt as our keynote today. So, without boring you, my first experience of style was at good old David Jones, which I was just sharing with Madge. And just to be able to walk into somewhere where I was completely nervous and flustered and didn't know what to do, but to walk out that store with, I suppose, someone that could guide me and support me and make me feel so much better for the experience. And I suppose, yeah, Madge is going to share some business case study insights today. As a brand and personal stylist, she's all about making connections, and as educators, obviously, we're making connections every day. So extremely grateful, Madge, for you to be here to serve our teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi. The awkward pause. Do we clap? Do we not clap? Thanks for clapping. It makes me feel very special. So I'm Majella. Thanks for the introduction, Aaron, and I'm very excited to be here because I love talking about style. But I don't actually think that what I'm talking about is style. What I'm talking about is the ability to take what's inside and put it on the outside and tell the world who you are in a way that feels authentic, safe, and exciting for you. So even though I guess my method is clothing, it's the conduit between your personality and the outside world. What I really want you to start considering today is, do you use style as a tool in your business toolkit, for starters, because we're here at a conference about how to be better teachers and how to be better leaders and be better role models. And I'm sure there's many other things too, but they're just the things that I assume are happening at a conference like this. And I want you to consider if there is a disconnect between how you show up in the world through your clothing, but also how you communicate who you are. So that's what I'm kind of going to go through, and I'm going to do it in a few different ways, and I'm going to give you some practical tips, and I'm going to give you some examples of clients that I've worked with. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. I probably will get through maybe a third of that because I think they've only given me like 40 minutes. And I was going to do a little Q&A at the end, but often what happens when something is personal, like your style, and especially, I am going to be a little bit gender specific here, but when you're a woman, there is often so much more judgment wrapped up in what you wear and how you look. So I'm going to stay behind for 10 minutes if you want to ask me a question privately. But firstly, I just want to get a lay of the land and see where everyone's kind of sitting in regards to their style. So I'd really love everyone to individually tell me their story, and then we're all going to look at you and make judgments. And maybe some charades and some interpretive dance, like it could get wild. What I'm actually going to do is, I'm going to get you to close your eyes and I'm going to ask you a few questions because I'd like you to be truthful, and it's very hard for people to be truthful in a forum of strangers, but it helps me tailor the talk a little bit more personally. So no one will see your answer because your eyes are closed and no one's going to be cheating unless you wave very loudly and put your hand up and the person can sense the movement next to you. So I'd love you to close your eyes. Let's go on a journey together, people. Let's visualize. No, I'm kidding. So I just want to know who here wakes up in the morning, feels excited and confident when they open their wardrobe and they're like, yes, I look good, I love what I'm wearing, and I have so many choices to choose from. Who is that? Any hands? So many hands. I'm gonna tell you at the end how this goes. Okay, so next question. When you think about what you're wearing, do you think about it in terms of just practicality? And what am I going to wear today that covers my naked body and doesn't make me feel horrendous? Or do you think about the message you're putting out into the world with your clothing? So that's not a question you can answer with a hand. Let me rephrase that. When you get dressed in the morning, do you think about how you want to feel in your clothes? Yes or no? Yes? Let's put a hand up. I'm bad at this game. I started this game and I don't know how it works. Okay, third question. Do you think that what you wear reflects who you are and the person that you want to be? Okay, great. All right, you can open your eyes now. I feel like I needed to practice that game because yes, no, what is everyone thinking here? And you're all sitting there with your eyes closed. Thanks for playing. So, not many people, there was maybe 3 people who said they loved their style and loved what they put on in the morning. So out of a room of, I'm not sure how many, that's maybe like 10%, less than. Which is kind of staggering when you think that A, it's something that's totally in your control. B, you have to wear clothes in this society, it's non-negotiable. And C, you already know that you make judgments about other people by what they're wearing, yet you are wearing things that you don't like. The other things I think are a little bit more obvious of, do you feel like you're wearing what you want to wear to reflect who you are in the world? That kind of ties into the first one. So what I'm going to talk about and start, I'm going to go to the next. Can I go to the first slide, please? The second slide. Oh, I've got the clicker. There's so many tech things happening here. Okay. So, this is kind of the question that I asked. Do you tap into clothes that make you feel the way you want to feel? Is basically the premise of how I style and what I teach my clients. Because something happens when you wear clothing that brings up the emotions that you want to feel. So if you put on clothes that make you feel tired, frumpy, uncomfortable, invisible, unattractive, boring, bland, or fake, you have to work harder to get into a good mindset, to get into a place where you can be the person you want to be in the world. So already we have so much noise in our lives. We have obligations coming from everywhere. We have people demanding things of us. We demand things of ourselves. But add that layer of clothing as a complication, and it's also often the first thing that we do in the morning after getting up and having breakfast is getting dressed. So you're starting from behind the start line. Instead of starting, this is a bad analogy, I don't run. So I feel like in competitive sports, start and finish, don't we all win, is how I feel. But what you might want to consider is that if you are getting up every morning and putting on clothes that you don't feel good in, you're already kind of behind the 8 ball for yourself. So when you wear clothes that make you feel the way you want to feel, basically you're changing your mindset, you're altering your mood, your physiology shifts. So instead of slumping or shallow breathing or holding your stomach in or averting your eyes, you're much more likely to walk upright with some pride. You have a relaxed, easy gait. You breathe deeper. You connect with others. And as teachers and people who are in front of, like a room of attentive eyes, they are looking to you to be the best version of yourself each day so that you can guide them on their way, on their journey, and also be the best version of yourself for yourself. So, I can get easily off track here. This is why I have one of these. Okay, so this goes back to that whole concept of do you actually know how you want to feel? I think when people often come to work with me, they know what they don't want to feel. They know that they don't like the way they look. They know that their clothing is uncomfortable or boring, or they look at others and they think, man, like, she looks great. He looks so sharp. I wish I could wear what she's wearing. But they haven't actually taken that next step and thought, what is it that I want to be wearing? What is it that I want to be feeling and translating through my clothing? So I'd love you to just take a couple of seconds now and think about, if I came up to you right now and said, how do you want to feel in your clothing? What are some words that come to mind? And if you want to write them down, this could be helpful for later, for yourself, not for me. Or you could share with the person next to you, so we could like share this experience. So basically, what do you want to feel in your clothes? Like, if you could click your fingers, wave a magic wand, how do you want your clothes to make you feel? Just take a couple of seconds, think about that, jot it down, because we're going to talk about it later. Or share with the person next to you. You could make a new friend. Okay, so do you think we're ready to do the yes game, showing hands, with our eyes open now? Have we become friends? We feel confident? We're going to do it anyway, guys. We're just going to jump in. So, who described words about their style and how they want to feel? Who has that feeling now? Who wears those clothes and feels like that when they get dressed in the morning? Okay. Got a handful of people. Sometimes we've got some ups and downs, not a full commitment. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So do you ever think about this when you go shopping? Do you ever think about this when you're getting ready to teach, or when you're going to an event, or when you're meeting your friend for coffee? Does it occur to you that what you are putting on your body is a way to communicate with the world? Or are you thinking, I just need to find something that fits, or I just need to find something that's clean, or I just really wish that I had something to wear with that top, but I don't, so I'm just going to wear the same pair of like jeans and shirt that I already have. So there's this massive potential if you're sitting in that camp. So basically, I assume that most of you are sitting in that camp, because if you loved your style and you felt amazing and you were nailing your looks and just, you know, strutting the streets, flicking your hair like you're in a Pantene ad, you probably wouldn't be here. So I'm just going to talk to you like there's a disconnect between what you wear and who you are and how you're being in the world and how you want to be. And if you are nailing your style, I will just look away if you need to leave. Like, so if I can't offer you any value, this is the time. I won't be at all offended. Because most people don't think about this, which is staggering to me, considering we literally are dressed for almost all of our time. You know, other than bathing, or if you walk around nude in your home, or you're a nudist beach goer, we have to wear clothes. And a lot of us spend a lot of time at work, you know, 40 hours, 50 hours, depending on, you know, what you do. And if you do other things outside of work that are work-related, or where you need to present yourself, we spend a lot of time in clothes where people will judge us and people make assumptions. And also, we judge ourselves. So the thing that happens the most is that people think that everyone else is watching them walk down the street going, what is she wearing? Or, I don't know if that's a good choice, or like, but they don't. People don't really care about what you look. This is like totally contradicting my whole talk, but it kind of is also the premise of my talk, is no one actually cares what you wear. I'm out of a job. Because it's not about the clothing, it's about how you embody the clothes and the energy you put out into the world. So basically, you could wear anything, and people do, and they are magnetic and charismatic and relatable and trustworthy and interesting and sexy, but it's not always just because of the choice of clothing they put on. It's because that clothing has allowed them to tap into that mindset or that emotion. So really, clothing is the tool. It's the pathway, it's the bridge, it's the conduit, it's the ability to kind of fake it till you make it. I'm not a big fan of that phrase because I don't like the idea that you want to incorporate falseness or facade into what you wear or what you do. So it's more like it becomes the version of you now and the version of you in the future, the ideal version of you where you look at yourself and you think, I am doing great here and I'm proud of myself and I like myself. Clothing becomes the ability to step into that in a physical sense and allow you to get used to feeling like that. So even though you may not feel completely like that person, you can look like that person. So then you become that person. Emotions come before actions, and then actions turn into habits, and then habits turn into a belief. I think that there maybe is like a proper way that goes, and I'm not sure if that's the one, but I think that applies here. Okay. The other thing I find that people have an issue with is that they view style as superficial or something that doesn't really have an impact on who they are, but rather is all about following a trend or being cool or wearing what's in. And I think that underneath all of that, style has nothing to do with those things. Style is literally taking your personality and putting it on the outside of your body, or it is being a protection from the world. So if you're having a really stressful day or you're going through a tough time in life, when you can put on something that fits well and feels good and allows you to do what you need to do but not necessarily be as visible or not necessarily feel in any way awkward or uncomfortable, there's such it's a really supportive aspect of your life that just isn't accessed or utilized by a lot of people. And I think when you are in a job that demands a lot of you, having clothing that is literally like you put it on and it's a set and forget. It's like you put it on, you just do your thing, and you don't have to worry about how you look, but you know that you look the way you want to look, if that makes sense. So, I feel like I've covered the next one because I keep talking about it. Style is emotional though. So I think that how you want to feel, if you're wearing clothes that don't make you feel that, there's a big chance that you're having a disconnect. And when things are in alignment is where there's a lot of power, So when you know that who you are, your integrity, your values, that's all clear to you and to the world, it builds this sense of trust. It helps people get a sense of who you are. It allows people in, and everything we do is built on connection and human relationships. And I think that, when you are being true to yourself, then that translates out into the world. How does this, I feel like I'm getting really deep and emotional here, and people are probably like, but how do I do this in a practical sense? Well, we need to look at style in a strategic way, which seems counterintuitive after I've just said that style is very emotional and it's all about how you're feeling and your goals and your dreams and your visions. But it is something that, like anything in life, if you want to be good at something, you have to practice. Style is a skill. So when we grew up, we were taught some basics about food, not enough about finance, nothing at all really about like how to have challenging conversations. And also nothing about style. So if you were lucky, you had a parent who showed you what she knew or took you shopping. You might have had friends that were really good with proportions and colour and shapes, and they showed you what worked. You might have copied other people. You might have seen things in magazines or on blogs, but it's very different when you try to apply that to yourself and your unique makeup. So who here feels like they really understand their body shape, they understand what colours really work for them, and they know how to put different things together in combinations and they feel confident? Cool. It's just a majority I see. I see like a sea of hands here. So not many people. So isn't it interesting that something that we have to do every day, that we notice in others, that we talk about all the time in terms of a personal brand or professionalism, how many people here have seen a stylist? Cool. I think that looks like 2. So, or 3, sort of maybe a little hand, a sort of a stylist. How many people here have done some kind of course in, I mean, obviously you've done stuff in business, but what are the life skills? Like a cooking course, you've learned how to do defensive driving, you have had any kind of communication upskilling, you have, what else do we need in everyday life? You know, but like, the point is that for something that is so prevalent in what we do, not many people have sought any kind of professional help. And I'm not saying that you need to have professional help to have a style that you love or to feel confident in what you're wearing, but it's interesting that for something that we have to do for many hours a day and that we know has an impact on ourselves and others is something that we haven't really invested any time or energy or money into. I mean, doesn't that seem really interesting to you guys too? Tough crowd, tough crowd. So, here are some things that I just wanted to touch on in terms of a practical approach to creating a style that makes you feel the way you want to feel and look the way you want to look. So, the psychology of colour, the Diderot effect, the influence of your peers, your personality, your budget, your lifestyle, the structure and fit of your clothing, outfit building blocks, which I like to call the basics, accessories, and the energy of your style. Okay, so we're going to go through these, but I have no idea of the time. Halfway through? Yep. Okay, cool. So I think everyone's aware of colour and the impact that it can have on your mood and your energy and your mindset. Yes? Can I have a yes? People understand colour? Great, great. Who wears the colours that they love? Who questions their colours if they're the right colours? Does anyone not wear the colours they love because the right colours for their industry might be the colours that don't necessarily resonate with them? No? Okay. Because what often happens in a professional or a corporate sense is that there are some colours that are deemed acceptable and some that are not so much, because colour does have connotations, but I think that there are always ways that you can integrate your colour preferences into a professional setting. And it's one of the easiest ways to change an outfit, but also change how people are viewing you. So if you want to be very visible, you can wear bright colours. If you want to be neutral, you can go into like greys or blacks. If you want to be invisible, you can go the darker colours. And if you want to have an upper hand in terms of like a power choice, often we skew towards reds, bright blues, or the fuchsias, the hot pinks, which are all kind of termed power colours. So there is a way that you can use the colours that you like in a way that is really strategic for what you're needing to do. So when you're in front of a class and you know it's going to be a tough lesson, or you know it's at the end of a week and people are often tired, or you're stressed yourself and feeling a bit overwhelmed, the colour choice that you make can really affect how you feel and the actions you take and the energy you put out. So I'd love you to go home and look at your wardrobe and have a look and see if everything in there are the colours that you like wearing, that make you feel good, or are they colours that you think you should be wearing, or you did a colour chart 10 years ago with someone and they said these are your colours, so you just keep following that, or that your sister keeps saying that you look amazing in that colour, and so you keep wearing it even though you don't necessarily feel that great in it. Because we kind of want to build in the impact of colour into our everyday style, so that when you open your wardrobe and you get dressed for your day, you can make a choice, a strategic choice, knowing what you have to do and knowing who's going to be seeing you and knowing how you feel and want to feel, integrating all that together into an outfit where you can walk out the door feeling confident, feeling comfortable, and telling the world who you are. So, this is an interesting one, the Diderot effect. It's really, in terms of what I do, there is a lot of consumption in the fashion industry. We work on trends, which we're stepping away from now, and it has nothing to do with style. But generally, you know, there has been a period of time where we would often be like, I need to be wearing this because this is in, or this is what we've all gone through the 80s and the 90s where there was things that everyone wanted to wear and everyone looked the same, and it helped us feel like we were part of a tribe, but it also enabled this feeling of, I need to have what's new, I need to have what's exciting, I need to have what she's having. Like, there's ads about this. So the problem is with the Diderot effect is it doesn't necessarily have a lasting impact on your life. If you're constantly chasing what's new rather than what feels good to you and what you can wear over and over again, you'll end up having this wardrobe filled with throwaway pieces or things that you've worn twice and that you don't wear again, or you look at and you think, I'm not really sure what I was thinking there, but I thought it looked good in the store, but now I feel like, and it's often where people waste the most amount of money in terms of clothing. So next time you go shopping, you want to be conscious of, are you gravitating towards just having something new? Are you wanting something for the sake of having something exciting and different in your wardrobe? Because what you're really seeking is excitement and newness in your life. So often I find that clothing and style reflects your internal landscape. So when someone goes shopping and they keep buying these things but they don't wear them, it's often an indication that they're not happy with who they are, and they're seeking a solution, but they're not necessarily seeking the best solution for them at the time. So sometimes I'll have clients who come and see me and they'll want to do a full transformation service, but I actually gently say that maybe what they need to do is work on other areas of their life first, because clothing might seem like a quick fix and an easy solution to change how you feel about yourself and change your life. And in fact, that used to be my business tagline, change your look, change your life. But the changes need to happen on the inside to have any kind of longevity. So I might suggest that potentially they want to look at their health first, or I'm not their first choice because they might want to have some counseling, or they might want to look at booking a holiday just to get away and have some space rather than spending thousands of dollars on a new wardrobe that isn't really going to fix the problem that they're seeking a solution for. Which as a business owner can be really confronting to say, I'd really love to work with you, and I know that this would actually impact you and make you feel different, but I don't think I'm your first choice. I think I'm the third step in your life change. So it's often, if you are a shopper that buys for constantly having newness, or for the thrill of finding something cool or different, or for the idea that if you wear this thing, you'll be a different person, it's worth considering what's underneath that and having a look at how you can not use shopping as an outlet or any kind of consumerism, really, which is what the Diderot effect is. So,
quick question.
Yes?
Classical items that you'll wear for a long time, is there a magic sort of proportion of those type of items versus maybe, you know, that new fashionable type thing that you encourage, or is it?
There isn't ever a defined number for everyone. It's all different for each individual, but you want to have at least a core group of pieces that can be mixed and matched and worked together in lots of different ways. It does depend on your lifestyle and, you know, your budget and your personality, because if you're spending a lot of time in a uniform, for example, you know, you want to be spending your money on casual weekend going out things, whereas if you spend a lot of your time at work, you want to be spending more of your money and having more options for the work, for your work world. A really great exercise that I often get my clients to do at home is to write down what they do in a week or in a month. And so they can look at all the different activities and then work out the percentage of what they do compared to the amount of clothes they have in their wardrobe. So if you spend 40 hours a week at work and then you maybe go to 2 work functions, that's like 2/3 of your, you know, like life hours, and then the rest of the time you spend mostly with your kids or doing like child-related things, and occasionally you have lunch with some friends, then you need 2/3 of your wardrobe to go towards work, and then, you know, maybe, this is where my maths is really gonna, but like less than 1/3, you know, like if you split the 1/3 into like 3/3, then you have like 2/3 of the 1/3. It's getting confusing. But you have a smaller amount of choices to do your casual running around things and spending time with the kids. And if you know you go out to dinner, you know, once a month or once every 3 months, you literally need like 5% of your wardrobe as going out pieces. If you hardly ever go to weddings or special events, you might want to consider hiring a dress or hiring a suit rather than spending $200, $300, $400 on one item that you may not wear again for another year, where you might be a different size, or you might feel like a different person. So I have brought a little workbook and a flyer, and on the flyer it actually suggests 10 items that you might want to have in a capsule collection. They're not essential, they're just a guide. It's a way to show kind of the spread of items. And the workbook literally talks you through what I do with a client in a DIY sense, in terms of you go through a wardrobe detox, you create a mood board / vision board of your style, you write out a strategic shopping list, then you put it all together in outfits, and then you work out where you're going to wear them all. So they're both available. There's 2 desks. So if that interests you, grab one on the way out if you haven't already, and you can work through that at your own pace. But yes, that was a great question. Thanks, Aaron. Okay, so this is what I wanted to talk about, because I feel like often when we are living our lives, I think we underestimate how much impact we have on others. I think that many people hide their achievements, they hide their skills, and they don't let themselves shine in the world. And that is especially apparent with their clothes often, and it is more prevalent, I guess, with women. So I work with the majority of my clients are women, so I see this all the time, where the people have done amazing things, but they hide themselves away. So it's worth considering as role models and people who are, you know, leading your students and being influential. Like, what is the message you're saying when you're up the front of the class? you know, when you're walking around campus, you know, when you're engaging with them, you know, are you owning your own achievements and your own greatness and your own uniqueness? Or are you kind of, because of many reasons, but slipping into that kind of field of, it's the middle zone, the grey zone, where you're not really memorable, but you're not offensively badly dressed, you know, and you're a good teacher, but it's hard to be recognized because you kind of blend in a little. So the interesting thing about the influence of the people around you, it's worth considering who is influencing you, because you influence others, being a teacher, but who's influencing you? And generally it falls into one of three groups, which is the close, the many, or the powerful. So of the close, the people around you. So of all the teachers around you that you associate with, that you see on social media, that you pass in the hallways, if they're all dressing in a certain way, it can be very confronting to dress differently. So if you're all kind of in the same zone, it's safe, but it also means that you might not be dressing the way you want to dress. The many, that's more that if there's something happening in society as a large, so a trend, so if in all the stores, it's like mustards and browns and burnt oranges and, you know, deep reds, if that's what's available and that's what many people are wearing, most people are influenced by that, and they'll often subconsciously start shopping that same way as well and buying the same colors and the same clothes that the people around them are buying. And again, that may not be how you want to look or what you want to wear. Or the powerful. So that's the people that you look up to and admire that, you know, are maybe on a global scale. They're very visible. So someone like Oprah Winfrey or Michelle Obama or Julie Bishop. So someone that you see but you don't have any personal contact with, and you look at them and you think, that's how I want to dress. And again, there's nothing wrong with using the people around you as an influence or an inspiration, as long as it guides you back to how you want to be first, rather than seeing what other people are doing and then mimicking that in some way. Okay, so in terms of your personal brand and how you're presenting yourself, you need to take into account things like your personality, your budget, your lifestyle, and your body. You're literally dressing this body, the one you have, with cloth. And so I think that often people don't take into account the practicalities of what they're working with. And there's a sense of disconnect and denial about, I don't want to dress this body, I don't really like this body, I'm going to dress it like it's 2 sizes smaller, and then I won't have any clothes to wear because I can't actually fit into those clothes. Or I want to be this kind of person, but I'm not there yet, so I'm going to buy the clothes, but I'm not going to wear them. So you want to actually know your body, know what suits your shape. Again, these are practical skills that you can learn, and then you can apply them to your body. Your personality, that's a fairly obvious one. So if you aren't integrating your personality into your clothing, the world doesn't get to see who you are. So it's worth considering what makes you feel alive? What makes you feel excited? What makes you feel passionate? And are you communicating that? I also understand that all of this can just feel very daunting and overwhelming if you're tired and stressed and exhausted, and there's lots of things going on in life. So you don't have to change everything at once. It's just something to consider. It's worth thinking about when you walk into a store, instead of just blindly going to the same places, buying the same things, going into the same stores, you know, and kind of recreating what you've already got. Walk in and just observe yourself. Do I turn away from the bright colors because I don't want to be too visible? Am I scared of going into that section because I'm going to look like I'm too dressed up and I'm trying to be better than other people? Do I avoid going into that store because it's too expensive, even though I haven't been in there for 7 years and I don't really know what the prices are now, but I went in there once and it was very expensive. You know, there's all these things that we do that are habitual that affect us in so many different ways. So I think that this isn't meant to be a talk about how you have to change things and how that what you are doing is not enough or not the right thing. It's an exercise in getting curious about your style and getting curious about your personal brand and getting curious about what you're saying with your clothing. Just notice, because often we don't take enough time for ourselves, and we don't notice ourselves, and we don't really think about ourselves in an objective way. We hear our little internal critical voice, and that's what we hear when we see ourselves. So when you wake up in the morning and you go to put something on, can you stop and notice if you think, I don't want to put that on, or I'm so bored by my wardrobe, or how did it get to this? Or like, where the hell are my one pair of pants that fit? They've got to be here somewhere. So it's just worth looking at your style and seeing what old habits and old beliefs are still controlling how you look and what you choose to wear, which is the old rules kind of thing. So many people, we are all habitual creatures. We just keep doing the same things until we change and create a new habit. So if you don't like how you look, and if you don't like what you're wearing each day, only you can change this. But sometimes you don't even realize that you want to change it until you start observing yourself. Because if you love what you wear and you feel good in it, regardless of what anyone else thinks, you should wear that. But also be aware that you have the ability to influence and impact people by what you choose to wear. So if you're choosing not to explore that, you're also, I guess, choosing to let go of that potential. Okay, just a quick little, because Aaron wanted me to do a bit of a case study, on how my style changed. So when I first started as a stylist, I'm going to preface this. I grew up just playing dress-ups, and then I essentially went through high school and just copied the people around me because I had no idea what I was doing, and my mum told me I was beautiful in everything, which is lovely, but not very helpful in terms of like if you need any kind of critical advice. And then when I got to university, I was like, I could be anything I want, I could do anything I want, I can wear anything I want, and it was almost a bit overwhelming. And so I became this person who just tried out everything, every trend. I threw on anything, I did all these different things, and I ended up, because it was that acceptance and permission space of you can do anything in university, you're allowed to be wild and crazy and mismatched and have blue hair and wear terrible clothes. I got to a place where I felt like I had found my own style, and I did it in a way that I learned by trial and error. So then I started teaching others how to do that, and I was in media, and I was styling people for events, and I was selling vintage dresses, and I found it easy to do, and I had great word of mouth, but I didn't feel like I knew what I wanted to say with the world. I was still kind of dressing in a bit of everything. And as my business evolved from a startup where I, was kind of still trialing things and testing things to finding the clothing and the colors and the vibe that really resonated with me, that I could imagine putting on a book cover. If I ever wrote a book, I'm like, yes, this is what I want to put out into the world. It started to become something that was recognizable, and people started commenting and saying like, oh, I've seen this, or I've noticed this, or I can see you everywhere. And this consistency bred trust. And so what changed when I went from, I guess, questioning what I wanted to look like and how I wanted to be in the world, to clarifying my values and my message, is that my confidence increased and I was much more comfortable being visible. And if you're visible, people can find you and you can help them. I felt really authentic and I felt really consistent. So when I kept sharing the same types of things, then people knew what to expect in a way and they trusted me. And then I clarified my values. So what was important to me came through in my brand. I think that Aaron's giving me a look. That's okay. This was just like you need to be strategic kind of thing about your style, which I think we've touched on already. And this is really the most important one. It's just clothing. So even though it's something that I'm incredibly passionate about and I feel like can actually transform lives and change the person you are, and it can influence others and impact how they see you, and it changes your energy and your mindset and your mood, and can bring you such joy and can allow you to, I guess, carve out your space in the world, it is still just clothing. And you can do all of that without changing your style, and you can do all of that without changing a wardrobe. But clothing is such an easy bridge between all of that. So I hope that by sharing this, that you will consider, if you love your style and if you feel comfortable and confident and beautiful or handsome, and if it's how you want to be perceived in the world, and if it's not, maybe considering how you could change it or what you could do to start wearing the clothes that make you feel that way, and be the person that you want to be in the world, both on the inside and on the outside.